Hi, I'm Kevin Loyola,
And I'm John Romua.
and we're here at the Nelson Memorial Library Museum, where we will be discussing two paintings painted in the 1900s. The first painting is The Metamorphosis of Narcissus, which was painted by Salvador Dali in the Surrealist art movement.
Wasn't Surrealism sort of a period of intricate images and expressing very unusual works that challenge the imagination?
That is correct, John. The artists create kind of a visual imagery that also seem very illogical and unordinary. The artist, Salvador Dali, was also an interesting character himself.
How so?
Well, John, Salvador Dali was many things. He was a philosopher, theorist, lecturer, poet, but he was also regarded as one of the greatest artists in this time period. But people also saw him as psychotic, and he had this condition called paranoid critical activity, where he claimed he could access his unconscious mind while he was awake.
Wow. You can also get the sense of that in this painting as well, seeing as there are seemingly two reflections of the same painting, resembling two states of mind, two personalities, two forms of the same being. Well, looking at this form, it resembles a hand holding an egg, which is hatching a flower. Quite interesting.
Yes, that's true, John. The other reflection is more exuberant, featuring the same form, but seen in a different perspective. It almost looks like a body crunched together, looking at his or her reflection in the pond.
That is very creative and fascinating. It is also impressive not only that he is so creative, but that he is very precise as well. The detail he uses in this painting is amazing. The background of the two reflections are very detailed and resemble two different realities, which can probably trace back to his psychological condition.
Yes. It's always fascinating how an artist can portray their lives on the canvas in magnificent and unique fashion. Everything about this painting was made possible due to Dali's ability to see a certain form and interpret it in different ways. It is quite fascinating if you think about it.
But what is this painting supposed to represent?
Wow, I'm glad you asked that amazing question. Actually, this painting is Dali's interpretation of the Greek myth of Narcissus, who was a man of great beauty, but was also very conceited and played with many emotions and many hearts. The Greek gods looked down upon him, so they made him look at his own reflection in the pool. However, Narcissus ended up falling in love with his own reflection and ended up dying out of frustration. The gods then decided to remember him throughout time by giving him the name Narcissus flower, which is probably what the egg seen in the first reflection could be seen as.
Amazing! I would never imagine a story arising from this painting. That is also probably where the title Metamorphosis comes from, seeing as how one reflection basically transforms into the next. The abstract design was very creative, and it translated into a magnificent piece that resembles mythology and recreates an artist's life and emotion. So here we are now in front of Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. This was painted in 1942 and is under the era of American realism. This is known to be Hopper's most famous work and is one of the most recognizable paintings in American art. Within months of its completion, it was sold to the Art Institute of Chicago for $3,000 and has remained there ever since.
Oh yeah, I remember this painting. Wasn't Hopper also a very renowned American artist during this time?
Yes, that is true. However, he did have his rough times as an artist. During the early years of Hopper's artistic career, he struggled to find his own art style. It wasn't until years later he began to be recognized for his watercolors as well as commercially successful etchings. A lot of his paintings also focus on the geometrical design and the careful placement of the human figures in proper balance with their environment. In addition to this, he was best known for his oil paintings, one of which is Nighthawks.
Ah yes, the Nighthawks.
Nighthawks is a painting that shares a moment of time of people sitting in a diner late at night. The setting takes place at a street corner in an American environment, but not one specific. We get a sense of an American environment due to the brick wall architecture that we might find during this time, as shown by the building in the background.
It seems as if there is some sort of message that is being portrayed by this, does it not?
Yes. This painting gives us sort of a picture of an idealized American experience one might have at a diner late at night.
There's also a lot of simulated empty space in the painting, especially the street that is outside the diner. This suggests that it is late at night and the people of the city and even the city itself is essentially asleep.
Although the street is empty and deserted at night, there are clues of human presence and interaction during the day. This is shown by a lonely cash register as well as the window blinds above. One might imagine an employee perhaps opening the blinds and maybe another working the register during the day.
That is true, but then let's bring our attention to the focal point of the painting, which is the actual diner and the people inside it.
Yes, looking at that, it makes us seem to wonder, what is the story behind the couple as well as the lone man that brings them to the diner so late at night?
There's also a very distinct contrast of light and dark between the inside of the diner and the street on the outside of the diner.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. On the outside is a very dark and isolated street corner, while the inside of the diner, it is very bright and warm.
This contrast makes the diner almost seem very inviting and active compared to the very empty and restful street.
True. Although the inside of the diner may seem inviting, there's also a sense of exclusiveness and separation from one that may be outside of the diner.
Yes, I see that. Inside is a social environment where perhaps a conversation might take place, but there also seems to be no access to that.
In fact, there isn't even a doorway for us to enter the diner as well.